Through the early stages of this crypto bull run, AI-related cryptocurrencies have dominated. And one of those in particular is Render, ticker RNDR. Now, why has AI caused such an increase in the price of Render? And the reason for that is that because teaching and deploying AI models requires such an immense amount of computational power, and Render decentralizes access to GPU power so that users from anywhere in the world can perform high computational tasks remotely. Now, with AI showing no signs of slowing down, it stands to good reason that even if you miss the boat on the likes of Render, that there could still be opportunities in this crypto niche that you can capitalize on. At least that's what I think. And that's why today I want to introduce you and go over a project that is known as OctaSpace. Before I dive into OctaSpace, if you enjoy the video, please hit the like button down below. And of course, if you enjoy the content and you want to see more of it, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification down below. And also, if you want access to unbiased crypto investing advice, check out my 80/20 crypto newsletter through the link in the description. And with that, it is time to dive into what could be a competitor to Render. Let's figure out what OctaSpace is about. So OctaSpace is a cloud computing platform that aims to bridge the gap basically between the future computing demand that is going to come from the likes of AI and the centralized GPU service providers that exist today. So you can go out there today and utilize the likes of Amazon Web Services, other big tech corporations that provide access to remote processing power, but then you are completely reliant on the likes of those big tech services. And it also adds a central point of failure, a single point of failure, so that if something does go wrong with these service providers, which it has done in the past, it means things like AI models just shut down instantly. Therefore, there is a growing need for a decentralized service provider that acts as a cloud computing platform, and that is what OctaSpace is trying to provide. So while traditional cloud providers control the things like hardware, the pricing, and sometimes they limit the deployment of what you can actually work on with that processing power, OctaSpace wants to open source the next generation of computing power. Now, what services does OctaSpace offer with this distributed computing platform that it offers? Well, the first one is rendering services, much like the Render network. So with this, you can render visuals, animations, video through their Octa Render platform. And we can see here on this next screen, these are some of the projects that have been completed today as I'm recording this. So you can see that it is being used at the moment, and a lot of the or not a lot, but a few of the creations can be seen on the OctaSpace Twitter page. So you can see that the OctaSpace or the Octa Render platform is being used by individuals to generate graphic visualizations. But unlike Render, there are other additional services that OctaSpace provides, such as Octa VPN. So there is a VPN service that is baked into this cloud computing platform. And in addition to that, people can also build their own AI applications on top of OctaSpace because OctaSpace is a blockchain. Now, we'll get into that in just a moment, but the other thing to bear in mind with OctaSpace is that, according to their CEO, they have put a huge focus on user experience. They want to make sure that if someone needs to access GPU processing power for whatever means, that can be done in a really user-friendly way. So even if you are not familiar with that process, doing it through OctaSpace should be no problem. Now, as I just mentioned, OctaSpace is a blockchain, but it actually has a dual chain architecture. So at its base, it has a layer 1 network, and this is a proof of work blockchain that is used to front-end user financial operations using the native Octa coin. So we'll come on to the native coin shortly. But then in addition to that, they also have a layer 2 network that uses a proof of authority consensus that serves as a side chain to the layer 1. So as I understand it, the proof of work chain handles things like the account balances and the service distribution for the services that OctaSpace provides. And then the layer 2 handles is used to execute transactions to enhance the efficiency of the platform. Now, OctaSpace was founded back in 2020, and it was founded by these two guys we can see on the screen here. So Artem Teslenko, who is the lead developer, and Tarek Delic, the project manager. Interestingly, on their website, they don't have anyone in like a true leadership role. Tarek is often the guy that you see on a lot of podcasts and interviews, and he seems to be at least pushing the marketing aspect and getting the name of OctaSpace out there. But there doesn't seem to be anyone in a lead position that you tend to see with some other projects. It was launched, or it was founded in 2020. The main net for OctaSpace was eventually launched in 2022 in June. So it has now had almost 2 years of runtime to hopefully iron out any teething problems. And going back to their Twitter page, we can see that this is a project that is being used by creators out there to create visualizations. So some pretty cool visualizations that are being deployed on here, and hopefully for the OctaSpace team, this just continues to grow. Now let's talk about OctaSpace's native token, which is Octa. And Octa is the primary utility token of the OctaSpace protocol, and it is used for the payment of all services, all cloud services that OctaSpace provides. And it is also used, as we saw previously, in the proof of work blockchain to secure the proof of work blockchain. And it is also used to distribute dividends to Octa holders. So there are several demands for the Octa coin, which should mean that if the adoption of OctaSpace continues in the future, the Octa coin should grow alongside it. And here we are on the CoinMarketCap website for Octa. We can see that the market cap of this coin is currently sat at 57 million, just under 58 million, which places it in the microcap category of altcoins. Out of a maximum supply of 48 million Octa, 28.3 are currently in circulation, which is 59%. The other aspect of tokenomics here is that in addition, the Octa coin was launched with no pre-mine or pre-allocation before, which is really encouraging to see. We don't want to see that, so it lessens the risks of being retail being dumped on at a later stage. And here we can see its price. So we can see that it was launched early 2023. Since then, it has steadily climbed, and it has consistently climbed, and we are currently seeing all-time highs for OctaSpace as I'm filming this video right now of $2.03. So that's a brief introduction to OctaSpace, a really interesting project that is trying to compete with the likes of Render, but actually go one step further than that and offer additional services through its distributed computing platform. Now, what are the upsides? What are the things that could drive the price of the Octa coin higher? Because if this is something that we want to invest in, you need to know what is going to be the catalyst for driving the price of a coin higher. So now I want to look at the potential upsides. And the first thing that I want to mention is that the demand for GPU computing power in the future is almost definitely going to increase. AI is here, it is here to stay, it is only going to get more advanced, which means computational tasks are just going to require more and more processing power. And GPU power is limited somewhat at the back end because of how much can be produced, manufactured. So access to a decentralized computing platform for GPU power is really, really attractive for a lot of people. So OctaSpace could be positioning itself really, really well for this new AI movement that we have ahead of us in the future. One other aspect I really like is that there were no pre-mine allocations for the Octa coin. Therefore, while future dilution should be expected, as we've only got 59% of coins in circulation, there should be no crazy market dumps from VCs or team members in the future. And then finally, I just want to come back to this price chart, because this price chart is extremely strong. We have seen nothing but higher highs and higher lows since Octa was launched back in 2023. So, and even while the crypto market has pulled back over the last 6 to 7 weeks, we've seen Bitcoin retrace up to 25% in some stages. Octa has just continued to climb. It had a little bit of a pullback from February to April, but then we've headed into May and things have just kicked into another gear, and it has risen to a new all-time high. So there is a clear demand and a clear interest in this coin right now. But just because we are seeing new all-time highs for this coin does not mean that this coin is risk-free. Like every altcoin project, there are some key risks that we need to take into account. And the first thing that we need to take into account is that the decentralization of GPU power is a fierce market in the crypto industry. In terms of projects that I think are really similar, we've got Render, Akash, AIOZ, Ether, which is meant to be launching its own token very recently in the near future. So there are already a lot of competitors in this space. And although OctaSpace does offer some additional services such as the VPN, data storage, it has some fierce competition in this industry. And to add to that point, it hasn't had as much adoption as the likes of Render has, for example. Although people are using the platform clearly based on its website and the Twitter profile, there is not as much adoption as we've seen for Render. Render recently announced that the Octane X platform was going to be integrated into Mac OS software, and the creators of Octane X are also the creators of the Render network. So there's this tie that Render has with Apple products, which are of course one of the biggest manufacturers of electronics in the world. OctaSpace doesn't have anything like that at the moment, and there's no guarantee that it will in the future. So that is a big risk. If you wanted to play it safer on the decentralization of GPU computing power, Render would be potentially the better option here. While it's good to see that OctaSpace is on the likes of LinkedIn, I think that's always a big positive to take away from projects. The team is still, as we can see, only Tarek and Artem on LinkedIn. So it's hard to know how big the team is that is behind in developing OctaSpace. Is there a lead role? We can see that on here, the roles are slightly different to what is listed on the website. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's not extremely clear, although the team, we can see who the team is, at least in terms of these two guys. That's good. They're docs. They're not hiding in the shadows. But there's something slightly odd about the structure here. Maybe it's just laziness that they haven't gone into LinkedIn or the website and updated it, but that should be amended in my opinion. Another risk that I have in the back of my mind is, are these guys spreading themselves too thin? They offer so many different services, rendering, data storage, VPN. Are the team spreading themselves too thinly to make any good headway? I think often the best projects pick one thing and they do that extremely well rather than offering multiple features, especially with potentially such a lightweight team. Again, we don't know how many team members they have working in the background. So for me, that is a slight concern. And then finally, I need to go back to this price chart. While the price chart is exceptionally strong and we can see the momentum in Octa's price, buying right now would be buying into hype. Now, we have no way of knowing when this hype can end, and that's therefore, if this is something of interest to you, then that is just the risk that you're going to have to take. We have no idea when this hype might end and we might see a pullback. But if this is something that interests you and you want a greater risk to reward profile, then waiting for a pullback in Octa's price might be the best step to take. And that's everything that I have for OctaSpace. This is a really fascinating project. I really, 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 really like Render. Therefore, I do think there is I think the market for GPU processing power is going to be so big in the future that competitors to Render still have an opportunity in this space. And we can see how well Render has done over the last 18 months. And Render's not a new project. It's an older project that has come back. It was here in 2021, the crypto bull run in 2021. It's come back and is now doing so well. And I think with the right execution, other protocols will have a similar opportunity to benefit from the AI narrative going into the future. OctaSpace could be one of those. In comparison, if we're just doing a like-for-like comparison of market cap, OctaSpace only has a market cap of 57 million. Render, on the other hand, is up in the billions. So there is clearly a demand, liquidity-wise, for these kind of tokens. It just depends which one is chosen and adopted by the majority. I give my own personal opinion on projects like this inside my 80/20 crypto newsletter. So if you want my insights as to whether this should be added to an altcoin shortlist or not, the 80/20 crypto newsletter is where to head to. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I will leave a link to the newsletter in the description down below. And let me know what you think about OctaSpace. Do you think OctaSpace is a good project to chase after? Do you think it is one that should be avoided? Do you think there are better options out there in this decentralized GPU computing narrative? I would love to hear your thoughts. And as always, if you have any more altcoin projects that you would like a deep dive on, let me know as well. That's everything from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.